Yeah, looks like it's working. Live would no, not that.
Maybe that's the problem. Now, can you talk?
Yeah,
Yeah, motherfucker.
keep
Sorry.
it PG-13.
Yeah, but it's work actually.
Yeah.
Finally.
Ah, yeah. Okay. I hope everything is working on my side to actually go to.
Oh, by the way, bro. Yeah, you cannot. You have to cut the other podcast if you want to uh post it because you cannot talk about VR using drugs in the streams.
Okay. Why?
It's forbidden here.
On
It's
which one?
forbidden here.
No,
For
it's
example,
not forbidden to
you
talk about.
talk about ketamine and your experience in the party with my friends. So you
That this
see,
is actually allowed. What is not allowed is to take drugs on stream, for example. Talking about drugs is obviously allowed.
no, not in Iran
Ah, not in Iran.
because uh, they ban everything here.
Ah,
You
okay,
cannot
all right.
smoke
It's
here.
anyway,
You
it's a
cannot.
music podcast, so
Yeah, but not about ours, exactly ours. But in general, you can talk about everything.
yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
for 80% of using.
Yeah. Um, but I'm streaming right now, so you did that. Wait, what is going on? Battlefield 4 is getting streamed, but I'm not streaming Battlefield 4. Why? Battlefield
Let's
4.
see.
Muted. Okay, are you ready, Alfie?
Yeah.
Let's see here.
What is our subject today?
I
Copyright?
copyright, I guess. Yes, copyright, I guess.
Much too much questions actually.
Copyright, or what else do you have that we can talk about? Because copyright, yeah, I mean we can talk about copyright for sure because it's an interesting topic.
Today's schedule is this one actually.
Yes, exactly. So we should do it. Yeah. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Instinct podcast. Today we talk about, yeah, as I said, copyright in music production. A little bit about that, like licenses, remixes, covers. Those are like the things that we are going to briefly talk about today. I'm Samuel Parandroid, and this is my friend.
Alfie Psyche, hello everyone.
Yes.
I hope you have a great week.
Yeah.
And as Sammy said, in this episode, we're going to talk about really serious subject,
Yes.
copyright.
But of course, with the caveat that I'm not a lawyer, I'm a music producer, and Alfie is also a music producer. So, like, this is the things that I've picked up, and maybe I say something which is not 100% accurate. If it's not, then feel free to put that in the chat or wherever you want. You can email it to me or whatever. You can correct me live here while we are doing it. So, copyrights in music, I think it's quite interesting because, I mean, there's many different levels to the law. I mean, there is freedom of art. This is like, for example, like a collage for a visual artist. A collage is something that you would take magazines, and obviously all of that is copyrighted, right? What's going on with my eye? Everything in those magazines is copyrighted, and you can cut out things and reassemble them. And once you are giving them a new context and a new artistic meaning, you're kind of free from those copyright laws, because it's the other thing gets in its way, and this is like artistic freedom, basically, that you can use those things. And I think this applies for music as well. This is a really, like, the thing with copyrights in music is that a lot of people are violating copyright laws in and out, non-stop, but they never get touched for it. They will never get dragged in front of court for it, because their music is not, sufficient famous, you can say, like it doesn't have enough reach so that the people who are the copyright holders do ever get wind of that and in return ever do something about that. So that's another aspect. It's like, yeah, it might be copyrighted and you might violate potentially somebody's laws or somebody's copyrights, but he will never do anything against that. What I usually do is I have a plan for myself. Like, either I contact a copyright owner, like I did that with a hip hop artist just last week, where I was just writing her, hey, can you please send me this and this a cappella from you? I want to use it in my music, and we can talk about royalties if I release it ultimately. Then I would give a portion of the money to her. Or else I'm having a plan, like a legal plan, in my head when somebody is telling me something about it. So, like, let's say I'm using a Rick and Morty sample, which I certainly did, then I think this is covered by artistic freedom. Because I'm actually not using this element to make money on Rick and Morty or with Rick and Morty. I'm putting it into a completely new artistic context, and I would argue that this is covered by artistic freedom, just as it is to use the Amen break, for example, which is used 5 million times, and it's obviously copyrighted. And then also, if you look back in the music, I mean, some of the best pieces of music have copyrighted stolen material in it, because it was extremely famous technique to have samplers where you are just like, you find something nice a little bit from an LP, from a vinyl, and you just cut this little bit and you put it into a new context. Yeah. What do you think?
But as an artist, if you, for example, create a character like Rick and Morty,
yeah,
the sound, the accent of the shit,
it's all intellectual property.
It is
intellectual property. Yeah, but so is a photograph of Claudia Schiffer or of Heidi Klum or of some whatever model. Somebody is holding the intellectual property rights to that. And if I take it as an artist and I just cut out her face, okay, and I put it into a new context, like completely new context, it doesn't have anything to do with fashion. It doesn't have anything to do with what it was originally intended, and I give it a new artistic meaning. I mean, as I said, I'm not a lawyer, but this is how I see it: artistic freedom and music rights.
In my case, I'm most of the time searching in the movies, in the YouTube, and whatever catch me, I just record it and use it in my music as a sample or as a vocal or
what? Sorry, I was just reading something. Say again.
For myself, I just go in YouTube or movies and record the part that I really like.
That would be covered.
And
that would
use it.
Exactly. And that would be theoretically, those people could drag you in front of court. They wouldn't, of course, but they could. And then it would be an argument. I think there would be no clear-cut thing. It's nothing decided yet, basically. It depends on your lawyer having a good argument why you use that and why it is covered by, for example, as I said, artistic freedom or some other law. and the other side will have their arguments, and then the judge can decide, okay, well, either for him or for him. That's how I think it is, but I never was in front of court because of the use of copyrighted material, but I used several pieces of Futurama and Rick and Morty.
Yeah, exactly. But in some cases, for example, I have a remix of Billie Eilish, and I just called to the manager, and they didn't answer.
Yes.
So most of the time, they didn't even answer you because they have tons of emails and messages.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And if you don't,
see that.
yeah, they exactly. That's the thing. That's the same
So
thing with.
what can we do in this case?
In
Actually,
this case, just use it and see what happens is one tactic, and it's very, very likely that nothing happens. It's like maybe you write a hit and it gets 5 gazillion million views. That would
yeah,
then probably they would come to you, and even YouTube would probably the algorithms would detect it, and they would come to you and ask you for the minimum. They would ask you for revenue. They would ask you for money, and then maybe you can find like a way to deal with them outside of court, because this is also what they want. They just want money. So if you can find an agreement with them, but we both of us have actually no direct knowledge about that, because as you said, they are not fucking interested if you are writing them. It's like, it's not somebody from another big distribution. They would care if it would be like somebody sits at Virgin and then the guy from Sony is calling or something like that. I guess then they pick up, you know what I mean? But if I am calling or you are calling, it's like, what's this, dude?
yeah. Yeah, in this case, actually, I really prefer to release it. But this is my question for you as a labor record owner. So what should I do? For example, if I make a music in high tech and use one sample
I would
and send it
always,
to you.
yeah.
So what happened then? What
What's
happened to
happened
the
then? It's
track? What
like,
happened to the labor record? What you said
yeah,
as a labor
it's
record?
it's like either it's so transformative and newly contextualized that it doesn't, in my opinion, it's then just like it's my kind of estimation. Okay, that's an interesting question. I will answer that question in just a second. Thanks for the question. In that moment, it would be normally a big label would have a legal side to it. They would have lawyers which are working for them, which I don't have. And in this case, I would look at the work and I would have a look: is it transformative enough so that an argument could be made for artistic freedom, or not? If it's too hairy and it's really, there's also the possibility to do a cover version, that? Like, that's a completely different story, and that is completely legal, by the way. You can cover things, but that means that you are not using the original recording. You have to re-record in that case. You have to re-perform, and you will pay the original copyright holder in that case. You will only get the money for a certain part of the production, but not, for example, for the melody. The person who wrote the melody, he will get a part. The person, there's like different people that are involved are getting different parts of the cake, you can say. I would really have a look at it. There's also a possibility to just bootleg stuff. You just give it out for free, and then it's like nobody will ever come to you and ask you for money if you're giving something for free. It's just for free. It's bootlegged. It's given from person to person to person. There are tons of examples of artists that blatantly violated copyrights in the high-tech trance scene. For example, Gotalion and Mimic Watt on the Noise Poison VA 2013, I think, was completely stolen, a complete part without any contextualization or anything. They just put it, a complete part of another big production, Knife Party, into their track. And everybody thought, because many people in the high-tech scene didn't know Knife Party. Knife Party is just a different genre, you know? Very famous band, you can say, or production. And I was shocked there, to be honest, because that was blatant stealing. That was not recontextualization. That was not putting something into a new kind of artistic light or anything. That was just, hey, we're stealing that, and then we're putting our name on it, and we're not writing that it's somebody else involved there. And it was the original recordings of Knife Party. Was actually shameful. I have to say that was a shameful thing, and many people didn't know. They just didn't know that it's Knife Party, despite the fact that it was a massive hit also. They just stole a massive hit and put it inside there. There is different degrees to when something is acceptable and when something is not acceptable. And it must be decided from case to case to case to case, I would say. Like, is it blatant rip-off? Is it a cover version? What is it, first of all? You know, is it artistic freedom? Do you take the Billie Eilish sample, for example, and it's completely transformed because it's in a different tune? You know, you change the pitch, you change the speed, you change the timbre by, you know, using saturators or something like that. Dude, my eye looks weird. Yeah, or maybe it's just the shadow. I guess it's the shadow, yeah. It's the weird shadow. It has to be...
What happened to that track that they stolen and put it in the
nothing
in their live and go to the big festival and play?
Well, nothing.
And nothing happened.
Nothing ever happened, and I would argue that 95% of the people that never realized that, they thought, wow, that's such an amazing part. It was not from them. This was the good part of the track, and it was not from them. And nobody knew about it. Most of the people didn't know about it because, you know. Yeah, so Stranger Eons says you can pretty much take any famous song and mangle it into a granular synth and no one will ever... That's true, of course, yeah, but this is what I mean with being transformative. In this case, it's completely transformative. There is nothing left anymore. And actually, grain means that it's like it doesn't even take the real vocal. It just takes a fraction of a millisecond or a couple of milliseconds of a vocal and repeats that and, you know, like transforms that. But good point. This is what I mean with being transformational. If nobody can recognize anymore that it's Billie Eilish that you're remixing or that it's Knife Party, then that's a different story. If you're taking a track from Knife Party and you put it inside your track, that's blatant stealing, bro. This is my opinion. In this case, that's not transformative. That's not putting it into a new context. That was using the original thing in the original BPM as a break in your track. That's stealing. I would never let anyone do that. That's the difference. If somebody comes and you can argue at least that this is something different and recontextualized and not just a rip-off, then I would be fine with it because 99% of the cases nothing happens anyway. So that's an important thing, I believe. The transformative nature of art. Is it transformative or not? That's also a difference if you're like, for example, the difference in a collage. Let's go back to this visual art. In a collage normally has hundreds of elements. There's many elements. And there's also this photograph of Heidi Klum or some model, which is copyrighted. But it doesn't serve the purpose of promoting clothes. It has only an artistic purpose. That's the only purpose that it serves. Different would be if I have some watch that I want to sell, okay? And I'm going to take the photograph, cut out the text from the brand, and Photoshop a watch on her and use that as a promotion. You know what I mean? That would be, again, blatant stealing. And that's the difference. Do you take something out of context, put it into a new context, and make it transformative by that? Or do you just steal it? Exactly. Very great point. Thanks, Stranger Ants. That's great. That's a great point. That's something that I would have said also, is that there's public domain. as well, which is very interesting because that's all the old stuff that's before copyrights existed. So, for example, Mozart is public domain, but what is not public domain, and that's quite interesting, is if an orchestra is playing Mozart and somebody is recording Mozart, that is copyrighted. That is, again, then this belongs to the people who recorded and who performed. The performance is one thing and the recording would be another thing. Great point, Stranger Aeons. Thanks for your participation. Okay. So a question from him is, besides the law, what are the ethics of creating samples in your productions? Let me see. Like, when you are creating something, obviously, then it's like, it's always protected. It's always your own intellectual property. But crediting, not editing. It's complicated. So, for example, if you're using something from a sample library, then you already, if you acquired the sample library legally, then you already have a license agreement with the licensee or with the license holder that's like included in the purchase. If you're using something like Splice, for example, that's also a copyright agreement between you and the company Splice, and therefore you're always safe if you are really like genuinely owner of those licenses, which again, it cannot be really traced, you know? I think there are a gazillion tracks out there which are at least have some parts that are actually illegally acquired because people are exchanging samples, for example. That's just what people do. You know what I mean? Like music producers, they're giving sample packs from friend to friend, and it's the nature of things. And I don't think that this stuff gets pursued, but you are asking about the ethical aspects of that. Well, if you're seeing it clear cut, you're stealing. If you're using a vengeance sample, for example, and you never acquired the license for this sample, it is sort of stealing. But I see it a little bit differentiated. So, for example, I want that everybody in the world has access to knowledge and everybody has access to, you know, creative output or has the possibility to put stuff out. Doesn't matter if he's from Namibia or if he's from Mumbai or if he's from Kamchatka or if he's from no matter where and how the economic surroundings are. I think we live in a time where we as a humanity should afford the poorest people in the world to steal from us when it's about creation. So when somebody, for example, would steal something from me that has literally no other chance, I would never pursue him legally. It doesn't matter if I would be a multimillionaire and would have tons of lawyers. I would just not do it. The opposite would be the case. I would actually probably go to Africa or send somebody to Africa and find people who need creative help and just help them and give them the stuff. And I think a lot of companies are in the same, think about it in the same way. I'd at least like to think that they do. I don't think that Steinberg would pursue an African kid who is using illegally acquired version of Cubase to learn the ins and outs of music production. Because this kid, once he will reach a level where he's making money with it, he will be the first to pay, you know, to pay for Cubase. So it's, if you cannot afford it, I don't know. I don't like stealing in general, of course. I'm not a fan of it conceptually, but I think that this is a special case. I think that everybody should have access to those things. Everybody should have access to knowledge, for example. There is this great Russian website that hosts every book ever written in every language that was ever written in the world. And I think that's something so fantastic that there is this place, and may it be legal or illegal, I really honestly don't give a shit about it. This gives people access to knowledge that otherwise wouldn't have access to knowledge, and I think the same thing counts for samples. I would never pursue a small artist for stealing presets from me or something like that. I think if there is a genuine purpose for him to steal from me, basically. And as I said, I hope that all the big companies are seeing it in the same way, like that. It's like, okay, this person, yeah, exactly. And should I tell you something, Stranger Aeons? I think that most people started with a cracked version, and I think that it's kind of a way of promoting. To be honest with you, like, I mean, how many people got Steinberg, Cubase, Ableton, Fruity Loops, or whatever? How many people got a pirated version originally, and then they were ultimately buying it, of course, after a while? So it's like, I think that ultimately those companies make money through piracy in the long run. And I also think that it became kind of unfashionable to pursue the small guy. It's kind of a weak action from a big company, in my opinion, to go after a small producer. That's just wacko. You know what I mean? Why are you going after this small person who just wants to be creative, and you're trying to destroy him on the legal level? Maybe put him into debt for the rest of his life. For what? What did you gain as a company other than losing one more customer? I think that's the way I think about it. I think that it sounds stupid, but there are occasions where it is just alright to steal. It's like, okay, you're from Africa. We fucking raped your continent for hundreds of years. I think you deserve to get at least knowledge and software and things like that if you cannot afford it yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the case of, for example, Iran, we don't have, as you know, we don't have any copyright uh,
Yeah.
law, or we don't even couldn't even buy the stuffs.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
For
I know.
for me, yeah, I bought it, but most of almost all of the people
Don't
here
have the possibility.
just
Yeah.
yeah couldn't
Yes.
actually. If they want, they couldn't, so they use the
Exactly.
crack
And I had
versions.
this little bit crazy guy was writing to me. This Salek guy was writing to me and told me I cannot buy it, blah, blah, blah. And I was giving it to him for free. And I know that he's going to share it with all of his friends. But those people are not potential customers, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
They're
they
not.
couldn't ever buy.
That's a special case in this case because yeah, I think a lot of countries in Africa it would be the same. I think probably a lot of places in the world would be the same. That for ever what reason, in your case it's the sanctions, which is fucking stupid actually. Is it the sanctions that prevent you? No, it's the payment basically, right? You don't. The
Uh,
payment processors are not allowed in Iran. They're not allowed even to work with Iran, I guess.
exactly.
Yeah.
We are not connected to outer banks
Yes.
in this case.
So PayPal, for example, is just not. It's Iran doesn't exist for PayPal basically, so you cannot use the service. That's a special thing, and because sanctions are not covering, for example, education. That's why we, for example, we can work with each other legally, and we are exempt of any sanctions because we're doing educational things, and therefore we're actually exempt from the fucking stupid Irani sanctions, as far as I understood, which is great.
Yeah. But as an artist, as a professional, you can, in my opinion, you can use lots of things, lots of samples, as until you use it in different ways. For example, if you use a sample, as you said, and make it completely sound different, that's not stealing in this case. But for
Yeah,
example, if you you and if you that's a cheap. things if you use someone's melody and
Yeah,
exact same thing. That's not good for you as an
but
artist.
no. But then there is again a
Personally.
special case, Alfie. There is this case of actually a cover version, which is 100% legal.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So then
That's the
this
cover
is
version.
yeah, but then you are using actually if you're doing a cover version correctly, then you are using the original name of the artist and the original title of the song and so forth. Yeah, you're right. It's a hairy thing. And there are many, many, many different layers to this onion, basically, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Stranger Aeon says that's the open source ethos. I think DAWs like Cakewalk and Ardour, I don't even know it yet, have that philosophy. I always wish to think that all companies have that philosophy. Like, I know that they don't are not fully open source, but at least that they don't pursue small individuals, basically. I think it became unfashionable, but I might be completely wrong. I don't have any empiric knowledge or any statistics or anything. It's just my feeling that they're not doing that much anymore. Because there was a time in Germany, for example, where they were actually going after people who were downloading video games and who were downloading movies and all that stuff. And the way they did it was in such a sleazy, fucked up way. They had lawyer agencies, but those lawyer agencies were just skyscrapers full of little drones who were sending out letters. Well, they had hackers who were identifying IP addresses with, of course, then with the addresses of the people and so forth. And then they were sending out thousands of letters to German people, for example, and I think in all of Europe. And then the way to deal with that was just basically, how to say, like peasant fishing, we would call it in Germany. Basically, they
You
were,
answer that.
yeah, if you answer that, then you kind of, write you a really scary letter that they will put you in debt for the rest of your life. Like you have to pay, either you have to pay this or they're gonna drag you in front of court. Da 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 da, and and ultimately they only were reacting to the people who answered and who let themselves being scared by those kind of fake letters, and those people had then to pay because they directly admitted to what they were accused for. But in front of court, it's extremely hard, even if you have acquired somebody's IP address over a hacker, etc. It's not a waterproof case.
Exactly. Never
In the moment,
they can prove.
when you are admitting it, of course, in that moment, it's a waterproof case, and they have no problem to really punish you in that case. But yeah, I know a lot of people answered to those letters, and I actually know people who really, like personally, who answered to those letters, and they are a good chunk poorer now for that reason. You should not answer, and by now it became incredibly unfashionable. It looks like for those companies because it creates animosity. Like if a company does that, I will hate that company for the rest of my life. I don't know, like those big companies at least. Okay, it would be probably also cost more to get after an individual than they would gain from it. Yeah, that's why they were going with that mass scale. Basically, just send out 10,000 letters, and if 100 people fall for the trap, you're gonna be a couple of millions more rich, basically. Like the lawyer agency is going to be a couple of millions more rich, and the copyright holder maybe as well. Yeah. So there's also, of course, the thing with the covers. We already talked a bit about it, which is again a different story because you said, it's not good to use a melody from somebody. But then there is a legal way to do that. There is a totally legal way to do that. Also in the distribution, it's embedded basically. If you're selling music, they're gonna ask you, is it your own recording or what is it? And the cover version is a totally valid valid way of doing something, but then it's just a cover version, of course. I mean, it's a different thing to create original music or to do a cover version. And if you do a cover version, then ideally you should mark it as such, which can be a bit complicated in some cases. Then there is the thing with public domain. We already scratched the surface of it, and I think public domain is something extremely interesting.
I have a question
Yeah.
now. Is YouTube is the public domain or not? For
No.
example, if
No.
we are talking about something and put it in YouTube, can someone
No.
come and
No.
take our vocals and put
No.
into their
No.
no?
No, they cannot. They could, because we would probably not pursue him, but we are the we are the IP holders of our thoughts and of our recording here and of everything, of all the different things.
Yeah.
Stranger Aeon says he's gonna do it now. He's gonna sample us. Actually, not. It's a copyright violation, but go for it, Stranger Aeons. You have my go for it.
Yeah, you have the permission. Bro.
You have the permission from us. Yeah. What else? It makes more sense for them to go after the people distributing pirated material like Team R2R. You're right about that, exactly. You are right about that, but to be honest with you, I love hackers. I freaking love hackers. I love hackers to death, because those are the people who do a lot of good in our world and often also change things for the better. Like in case of this... It's a stupid example, but I'm a video game nerd as well, and I have a Nintendo Switch. And a Nintendo Switch was coming extremely locked up. The processor was locked to a very, very low frequency. The GPU was locked to a very low frequency. There was no web browser. There was no YouTube app. There was tons of features missing. There was no ebook reader, of course. And hackers are the people who see something like that, and they are going to put their own time and energy inside that to create those things for all the people. And that's a great thing. I love that. I freaking love even hackers in the smallest cases when they're just fixing small things for people. So people like R2R, I think that they are not necessarily evil people, because they are the people who put it into the public for those people who could not afford it, who deserve it, for example, like as I said in the beginning, like people from Africa or something that just wouldn't have any other way.
As I know, there are tons of prey behind them.
Yeah. Also, having access to books and movies in totalitarian countries is cause of hackers. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's so important. Such an important thing that those people exist. And I would argue that the majority now, there is of course a lot of bad hackers and there's a lot of good hackers. Just like, because hacking is neither good or bad. You know, it's like...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like how you use it or for what is it used. It can be used extremely maliciously or it can be used extremely non-maliciously. And copyrights can be violated maliciously and copyrights can be violated very non-maliciously. Like in the case with books. Like that's fucking... Come on, give the people the books that cannot afford to buy the books. But then there is a small, great kind of a fine line, you can say, in between, like, when should you buy those books? Because we always see ourselves like, I'm so poor, I'm so poor, I'm so poor. But it's all relative in the end. You know what I mean? Like, then you need to ask yourself as an individual, should I maybe fork out those 10 euros and just buy the book? You know what I mean? As a person who could theoretically afford it. Or am I really that poor that I cannot afford it? It's also a question of how important is the stuff to you? Like, do you rather buy something and be proud that you bought it? Or do you rather steal it and say like, hey, I stole it? For example, friends of mine came to me. Sorry, Alfie, I'm talking a lot again.
No, bro, go.
A couple of days ago, friends of mine came to me and they said, "Wow, we have Cubase 11 hacked." And it's like, yeah, but I'm not interested in it. And my argument there is, first of all, a practical argument. Cubase is one of the most complex DAWs that is out, I would say. Many of them are very complex. But what I want to say is that I maybe know 10 to 20% of Cubase. And I'm a professional music producer. I know a lot about Cubase, but Cubase is so vast and so huge that there is a lot to explore. And I didn't even explore the version that I own legally, where I own the license from Steinberg, which I am proud of. I'm proud that I'm a Steinberg license holder and didn't, steal it. Which is totally fair because I'm using the software since so long. They fucking deserve my money in that case. I'm also not that poor that I couldn't afford it. So I have no problem in this case to just wait for it. I cannot afford it right now because I did some other investments, but I have no problem in waiting for it and dig deeper into what I actually have right now. I think in the end it comes down to the individual. Yeah. Stranger Eons, good point. That's another point. I want to keep my system clean. That's another thing. Like, not all hacks are sober, of course. Not all hacks are clean. Not all hacks are sober. Some of them, though, are cleaner than the paid versions, which is funny. There was just an occasion of a video game, Resident Evil Village, where the copyright protection was so shittily programmed that there were tremendous performance issues in the game, and then hackers fixed the fucking problem. And then it was like embarrassing for this huge gaming company because it just didn't look good. It just really didn't look good. Like they were basically putting it on the shoulders of the paying customers. That the paying customers were suffering with bad performance, while the people who were stealing it from the internet had perfect performance, or like a lot better performance. And those things happen as well. But then in generally, I agree with you, Stranger Eons. I like to keep my system clean as possible. And yeah, I'm a bit a minimalist. I don't need 5 gazillion fucking things. I don't need to have everything that exists on the market. If I know that I have what I need, I'm content. Yeah. Alfie, so is there anything more about the thing about copyrights that we want to talk about? I think there are no more questions.
Yeah, I think you cover all.
No, not all.
Not all,
but a couple of things, yeah.
Couple of important stuff that is the question of lots of people in this case, because copyright is really a scary thing from the outside.
Yes, bro.
Especially as an artist here.
Yeah.
Because you take your time to do something and then someone come and said, use that.
Yes.
Give me your money.
Yeah. Bro, he has an unrelated question. Thanks again, Stranger Eons. It's really cool to have somebody who has some feedback and some questions. I like that. I'm really thankful for that. So he says, unrelated question, but would you guys ever leave Cubase? Alfie is not a Cubase user. Alfie is an Ableton user.
I start with Cubase, bro.
Which is a great way to start, in my opinion. It's a great way to start with Cubase and to move over after that, I think.
Yeah. I really like Cubase. In my opinion, Cubase is really great, but some old stuff. I don't know. I really think Ableton is modern guy.
There is many arguments to be had there, but why then Hans Zimmer is not working with Ableton? Why you will never go to a AAA Hollywood studio and find some guy sitting there with Ableton? Why they always work with Nuendo and Cubase? Why?
Because they start early, and that early time Cubase was the main program that everyone used.
Because Cubase is the mother of all DAWs. It's literally, that's a fact. Cubase is the mother of all DAWs. It was the first.
the mother of.
It is, because it cannot be changed. It was the first DAW invented by humanity, bro. It was the first
Yeah.
digital audio workstation, which was not even intended to be a digital audio workstation. It just came that musicians were abusing it, and then Steinberg said, okay, they are fucking abusing it to create music. It was originally meant only as a program to send CC MIDI data. And no, I don't want to become famous, thanks. Like somebody was just like spamming in Twitch. How can I report that shit? Somebody just called me, but I can't pick it up during the podcast. It's kind of rude. Okay, guys, for everybody that tuned in, thanks for watching. And there are a couple of other episodes out there already. I think more on Alfie's page than on any other place, I think. For example, the last episode was only on your channel release, I believe.
We have
okay.
released one too.
Just to give a counterpoint, as a Bitwig user, I find it's really DAWs like Ableton and Bitwig that innovate. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's your opinion. And to be very honest with you, I can't really deny that at all. Because I never really got so deep into Ableton, and I should probably. And then I can say if you're right or if you're not right. Right now, if I would say, no, you're talking shit and blah, 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 that would be kind of stupid from me because I fucking never used it. So that's a thing. I definitely should have a look at other DAWs. It could be interesting, but I'm a person who is like so content with Cubase. I just freaking love Cubase. I feel so at home.
Yeah, exactly. I really understand this.
Bro, Cosmo, we're at the end of the podcast already. Yeah, it's like
in general, it depends on which DAW you are really make you comfortable and you can do your stuff with the good quality. It's
absolutely
all about that.
Absolutely. I agree. It's really, there is no right and wrong DAW. There is, Peter, it's not so easy to do that right now. Like, let me see. It's gonna mess up the visuals for sure. How? And we're really about to end the podcast as well, but... see.
Oh, hello guys. A moment for the camera. Hi Alfie. Hi Sammy.
Hey dude.
Hey, guys.
We're already done now with the podcast though. It was about copyrights.
I tried to call you today like 100 times.
But I was sleeping, brother. I was sleeping all day long.
Sad.
And this
nice
is...
discussion. I love the discussion. I love the discussion here. I really, really love the discussion.
Thanks.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, that's nice. Yeah, you should have. You can join in for one of the next episodes.
I started at Logic Audio Platinum, where I studied Imagic School in Denmark, and at that time, I remember my computer was like 2 GB RAM was like
a lot. Yeah,
a lot. It was like the maximum
what
you
time?
could put in a PC.
2002, no?
Let's say year 2000 to year 2004. So you can imagine the the technology.
Yeah, that was a way different time. I remember even when I started, then it was a completely different limitation of technology that you had. Nowadays, it's like We have computers that are fucking rockets that you can blast as many plugins inside and as many bullshit as you want, basically, almost as much as you want, without any limitations. But back then it was a very, very different story. And I also remember Cubase being completely very different when I started. I was starting when it was SX3, and now it's a completely different story, of course.
I started also when it was SX3, because when I finished my education with Logic Audio Platinum in Denmark, and my teacher was Thomas Welder from TC Electronics headquarters from Germany. That was my teacher, and I remember when I finished my education, the day I finished my education, Logic Audio Platinum was sold to Mac.
Yeah.
So I just got my education, and it was like...
And you were a Windows guy, or what?
Can I say the F word?
Yeah, I think so.
I was feeling fucked. You know, I studied something, and then they just gave me a finger, and then I was standing there. I was like,
but that was a time. That was a time.
Shit, what should I do now? You know, now I studied this thing.
Bro, that's so typical, because in that time, it was very common for Microsoft and Mac. They were fighting hardcore above licenses. So remember the time, for example, when there was a big Steve Jobs presentation of Halo. It was their new thing. Bungie, the completely unknown studio, they were presenting Halo on a big stage with Steve Jobs himself. And then Microsoft came and they fucking put a lot of money to buy that studio. They just said, fuck you, Mac. We're gonna take those guys. That looks too good. We're gonna take that. And Mac wanted to have their proprietary DAW, and they achieved that. It was like Logic was Macintosh, and that's it. Deal with it. You want to use Logic? Well, buy a Mac. You know, it's like that, and that's what was the purpose. And in that time, it was a lot of this was going on. That those two companies were basically in a licensing war. Where like, I'm gonna take this studio, and I'm gonna buy this studio, and I'm gonna buy this product, and I'm gonna buy this product, and nobody else can have it, because this was a reason for people to use those softwares. It is still like that, to be frank. Like there's still...
Alfie, I heard a lot about you. Sammy, I know really well. I heard a lot about you, very happy to meet you here finally, somehow.
Yeah, me too, bro.
So, when did you start producing music?
Long time ago.
I started about 15 years ago.
And what was your first contact with Cubase? Was your first DAW?
Yeah, that was, I had already told Sam, but here in Iran, because we don't have any ability to buy original thing or connect it to outer banks, I just go to the store, and there was a cracked version of Cubase.
Wow.
So
Iran.
With
next level shit, bro. I'm coming to Iran, bro. I'm coming.
No, bro.
Better enough.
This is only the good part. Only good part is this part.
Yeah, you know, I spoke with Dylan Ketek, and we had a discussion about why does Australian producers, but literally all of them uses Ableton. And we find it out. We figured it out. Because one guy started to use Ableton very long time ago, and then he showed it to his friend, and then he showed it to his friend, and then everybody just got hooked on Ableton. It's the thing of the country, bro.
But to be honest with you, that's how it's always going.
Yeah.
Hey, Twigger.
In this case,
what's up?
For me, in the university, I teach in the university, so I just go to the Ableton Live, and there are lots of crazy stuff. They're happening, lots of Cubase users, because there are people who already know something about production, but they come to university to finish and learn it professionally. So there is lots of crazy stuff. FL Studio people, Cubase people, and like a snowboard and alpine skiing.
Yeah.
I think that it's. I think this was what you said, Peter. Is like the normal way how it always was going. Like, for example, me, I also looked at what my idols, what were they using, and you were all using Cubase at that time. So I said,
No. Before I started to produce my tracks, I was using Logic.
yeah, but when I got to know your music, it was around
Yeah.
2004,
And I went from
2005.
Logic to Cubase in a matter of 1 hour because I was so much in Logic. So complex program. To make it run, it was so complex. To make the plugins run that time, it was like art to even make it run. It was
Did it
like
have
you have
VST?
to brainstorm shit out of a computer to
Yeah.
make a shittiest plugin on the planet to make it work that time. It was like an art. Literally, it was an art to make shit work. And
Yeah.
the moment you have it, a second it just fucking crashes and it was just gone. It was like, okay, here we go again. Reinstall everything.
Yeah. But did it actually, did it have VST support?
Yes, it have VST, normal VST, not VST 3, nothing like that.
Yeah, of course not.
You know, it
But
was
basic VST.
32-bit on a Windows XP. Windows XP was like, when Windows XP came, we was all like, wow.
Yes, I remember Windows XP. It was
You
great,
know, because
actually.
it was Windows 98, so it was like, wow.
No, there was a lot of different. There was Windows ME. There was Windows
NT.
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 Yeah.
NT.
ME 2000.
Yes, and then they made Vista. I think based on NT.
No, Vista was
after XP. Yeah, and it was the biggest pile of shit that the world has ever
pile
seen.
of shit. It
Yeah,
stinks
and
all the way
everybody
from
hated
wherever
it.
It was made all the way to Europe or all the way to Iran, bro. You could smell it all the way in
Yes.
Iran. I'm sure
And
of that.
everybody hated it collectively. Like everybody fucking hated it. By the way,
Yeah.
our fratello Twigger Music is also in the chat. I don't know if he's still around, but he was there for a moment.
You know,
And
I can never forget the amazing plugins that was in Logic in that time, because that was revolution for me. Like, I was the master of EXS24 in that time. Like, whatever I can resample or sample or create, EXS24 in Logic was for me like the god. And then
tell me
also
again,
the flanger.
EXX24.
Yeah, and then also the flanger from Logic that time, and the delay, and all kind of other things. And then I came to Cubase in a matter of 2 hours. I came to Cubase, I watched for 1 hour, and after 1 hour I just asked, okay, can I touch it now? And then I touched it, and I just never came back to Logic, because Logic was sold. Now I had to go kill myself and buy a new Macintosh. I just bought my first computer with 2 GB RAM, and it was an AMD computer.
You see? Back in the day, we were like going for AMD, or you were going.
I went for AMD.
But it was a complete different story
It
back
was
then.
very unstable.
Yeah.
It was very unstable. You know.
And do you remember how much power the processor had? It was
Yes,
single
it
core.
was something like 1.7 gigahertz.
Single core.
No, it was Pentium 4.
Pentium 4, so it was dual core.
Yeah,
Dual
something
core,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Dude, it's
And then
it's so
the
funny.
Windows XP went maximum 3000 megabyte RAM of memory. That means that even if you have 6 GB RAM, the architecture of the whole
Operating
wouldn't
system,
even allow
yeah.
you to go further than that. And then we was on a magnetic hard drives, which
Yeah.
went 30.
30, 100?
No,
30
they went.
gigabytes.
No, I had a 100 GB hard drive,
Which
which
was,
the speed of the hard drive
was 30.
30.
No, 30 is not possible. You mean 3200 maybe?
No, it was going 30.
That's
30 spin per minute.
no,
No,
it's not possible.
30. It was the transfer like 30 megabyte per second.
30 megabytes per
transfer
second.
data,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not like how many rounds, because that's how you
that
do.
Was like, and that was like, I have the newest shit on the
Yes,
market.
yeah,
bro.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just
back in the
spent
day.
like 4,000 euro on this shit. You know,
D-Mark,
like-
I guess. Was euros existent then?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No, I was paying with Danish crown, and I remember it was around 3,200 euro what I paid for that time for this PC. And now when you look at it, M2 and NVMe going 4.5 to 6, like, hey dude, what's up? 4.5 GB per second to 6.
6
Hello?
GB on my computer, up to 6 GB per second
Yeah.
in rate, only in rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So still, but I think today, there's
And
some
look at
great
this.
DAOs
They're
out there.
like this is
Yeah,
how
like,
they
look
look.
at that. What is that? That looks like a rhythmic spearmint chewing gum, bro. Like
Yes, exactly. It's the size of a fucking cigarette,
chewing gum.
basically. Yeah,
It's chewing
and
gum, bro.
it's a
Rhythmic spearmint chewing gum, double mint.
fully fledged NVMe. That's
Hubba.
an OEM NVMe from Samsung. It's the one from my laptop.
But I think I'm learning also Ableton today because I feel like it has something that other programs don't have.
Yeah.
And I also want to learn Bitweek. And I just showed Narks the new Cubase 11, and he just lost his mind. It's like goodbye Studio One.
Who?
Narks.
Narks.
Nico
But wasn't
Lupi.
he was Studio One
No,
already?
he was on Studio One. He's still making music in Studio One because he's still learning it. But I just showed him, and he's like, we just installed it, and I gave him the parameters and some shortcuts, and then he was like, bro, is the sound quality always so good? And I'm like, I don't know, Nico, what you're talking about. You're working with Studio. And he's like, bro, you don't understand. I said, no, I don't, because I have Studio One, but the version 1, you have the version 5 or 6 or whatever. So you have the newest Studio One, so tell me. And he's like, bro, the sound quality is like apes compared to Cubase.
Really?
Like apes, yeah. And he makes
Yeah, but I
such an
don't-
amazing music production, bro. In that piece of shit, he told me, bro, this Cubase, I'm gonna make only hits now. It's gonna change my life, But also there is debate, okay? Bitweeks, I think it's a masterpiece. It's people who left design of Nuendo.
Yeah. So they come from Steinberg.
No, that was the programmers who worked for Steinberg, and they just couldn't agree on some things between Cubase team and Nuendo team,
Yeah.
so they left and created Bitweeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no,
yeah.
Studio One or Bitweeks. I'm confused right now.
Bitwig is similar to Ableton.
Yes, it's very similar to Ableton. It's like a modular.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I like to work. For example, I don't have Bitweeks. I would really love to have it and learn it. But for example, now I'm learning Ableton. And the very fundamental thing is that I have Fruity Loops 10 and Fruity Loops 20. And I have Ableton Live, the latest version. And very fundamental thing is that you can rewire this into Cubase, what I did. So I can open my Fruity Loops, my Ableton, and then just press play in my Cubase, and all of the programs goes at the same time.
Rewire.
You can do what-
Rewire is a
Fantastic shit, bro.
yeah. It's really the way to go. Is for me, 100% would be that. Would be using Ableton with all its cool, fancy, and wicked features in transforming audio and all the things that I don't know about it, because there's obviously I know the tip of the
What
iceberg.
I'm learning about Ableton is that if you make a chain, you make your FX, all the Ableton plugins, no other plugins, only the Ableton plugins. You make a chain, and then you save this chain, and then when you want to fuck up a sound, like literally, like Cubase cannot do this shit. I wish Cubase was close to this kind of stuff, because if this was in Cubase, the Cubase would be the ultimate weapon ever.
But what you can do in Cubase, obviously, is what I
Still,
talked
I wanna point
about.
out something.
Yeah,
Cubase is for sound designing, audio puzzling, and have other features.
editing is its strong
But, yeah,
suit.
okay, but you cannot make from bleep anything.
You can, obviously, you can.
No, you cannot. You need plugins.
No, there's a lot of manipulation things that are built in.
There is no built-in system in Cubase like it's in Ableton, that you just take a sound, drop it in one plugin of Ableton, and then just make your chain with Ableton plugins, and it just makes, what the fuck is that? Never heard anything like it.
Okay.
Never seen a DAW that can do that. So the only thing that can do that is really Ableton and is really Bitweeks. They are the two main modular DAWs on the planet. But my comfort to work visually and the confidence of editing, sound quality, and the possibility of being in a musical composition is definitely Cubase.
Exactly, right on that. Absolutely
You know?
right on that. That's why
You know?
Hans Zimmer is using Cubase and not Ableton.
Yeah, but Hans Zimmer is not making noise like we are doing, and we are electronic hardcore music producers who is making noise. And therefore, we should have full knowledge of use Ableton, because you can take beep, put it in Cubase, and make like, and you can make like, I cannot even believe when some friends of mine, like Dylan Ketek or whoever, is showing me some lessons with him, and they're showing me what are they able to do with nothing. I'm like, bro, how do you make this sound? And he's like, ha, bro, it's so easy. Look at this, all the Ableton plugins. I'm like, bro, you did all of this. You didn't even open any plugin. He's like, no. I'm like, what the fuck
Exactly.
you mean?
Yeah,
No. He's like,
bro,
no,
we have
I
a
didn't
question
open any
from
plugin.
somebody, and
Yes, let's go.
that's what do you guys think about MIDI 2.0? It's supposed to come out soon. I know nothing about it. I really know
Never
nothing.
heard of it, bro.
I didn't even hear of it, to be honest.
Never heard of it. I heard
Alfie,
something.
Too?
Sorry, wrong info. I heard
No?
something, but it was a cloud in the air.
okay, let's. I quickly Google that shit. All information. All right, details about MIDI 2.0.
But I can tell you what is the future of music production.
But MIDI is such an
Yeah.
old protocol. It's kind of like,
I can tell you what is the future of music production.
Sure. Yeah.
We discussed it with Sam, and the question was also gave to the person who invented that thing, and it's called Neuralink.
That's super crazy.
yeah,
I don't know if
Neuralink is
I'm,
for sure crazy.
working with
So let's
working
go
code
deep into the
programming.
future now. Let's jump in a hyperspace right now, okay? Okay, so hyperspace is you're gonna get a fucking chip in your brain, okay? No fucking
Yeah.
doubt. And every humanity on the planet will have it eventually. And then when they
That's
will
the
take it away from
hyperlink.
you, you will be a fucking monkey. Okay?
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
But
But
that's-
now the question was to Elon Musk. So
Yeah.
Elon, okay, there was a lot of security questions and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But let's go to
Yeah.
the point. Then there was a question. Elon, what about video games? And he's like, yeah, sure, video games.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
no problem. And then the question came, what about music production? So can you imagine? Can you just imagine? I'm gonna lay down in my bed.
Yeah, and you're doing a
I'm gonna
track.
connect with my Neuralink, with my brain, and with my feelings.
Yeah, it's a bit more
Yeah.
complicated, I think. But yes,
Well,
I was
we will
just
go
thinking
there
about
eventually.
that. I was just thinking about that when I was lying in my bed in the last days, and I was very tired. And I had my network PC in my studio still running, and I was thinking about how cool would it be if I could just turn off my PC now with my mind,
And
you know,
just think with your
like
brain
Exactly.
what you feel, and it would just be an WAV file or what the fuck is gonna be in
but
the
that is
future.
like very, very advanced in the future because there would have been
No,
like
no.
No.
It's already there because
yeah, but not
you
as a
can-
commercial
now-
application
Yeah, but I already done that. I
with EEG or what?
code- Yes, exactly. With EEG, I wrote some code that you can. With EEG, you can
Yeah.
get your alpha levels, and with the alpha levels, you can control it.
called
Yeah,
So you
but
can-
that's not the
so-
same. It's not the
so
same.
you can control some very simple stuff. You cannot do crazy stuff, but
Exactly.
you can, for example, do a lead, da 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 da, and you can filter it with your mind.
Yeah, that's possible, of course. But with Neuralink, ultimately, in 100 years, this was what
But
Peter
that's crazy.
what Peter was talking about. There will be applications for this. So like that, you actually think a melody and it
Computer.
happens.
There will be nothing. There will be only chip in your brain. You come in your home, connected to 100G Wi-Fi, 100G, which will be going 18 teraflops per second or something, or petaflops per second. So basically, you're connected to AI. So you think about, oh, my car, and your car parks in front of your house.
Yeah,
You're, washing machine. Okay, the washing machine turns on, and some robot takes it out, and you think, okay, my robot. He's
well, it
oh
will
my
be
God,
all
okay.
automated.
And then
So
you're like just sitting there or whatever, or you're just walking. You're just walking in the forest, but your brain is connected to 18 teraflops per second by some satellite, which is like, tracking you down. And then basically,
Yeah.
if we are still alive on this planet Earth, because everything is going to shit, and eventually, you can just think of, okay, this is my, this is how this is my bass and kick, this is my percussions, okay, and it's already done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I
You
need to be
live in the
very.
speed of light.
But you need to
Actually.
really have sophisticated software engineering for that, so that this really
Well,
works.
it's called AI.
Yeah, and it will
Yeah.
take some time.
It's called AI. Okay.
Yeah, but it will
And
take
that's
some time,
really
nevertheless.
simple, bro. That's
Not
really
really.
simple. The AI is not crazy code programming. It's really simple
No, not. I'm not talking about AI, but
program.
for the point that you have commercially viable solutions that we have now, for example, in the computer field, like Ableton, Bitwig, Cubase, etc. All the
Agree. Let's
software.
agree. Let's agree. This is what it's gonna be in the future. This is how it's gonna be to make music in the future with this kind of
Sure.
patterns. 100%.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
agree, guys?
Yeah.
yeah, most
Yeah.
likely,
I
most
don't
likely.
see any other way. This is the only way. So you can forget about synthesizers. You can forget about plugins. You can forget about computers. You can forget even about fucking speakers because music you hear in your head is gonna be just done. That's it.
Well, you
But
can
there must be
export
a
it.
synthesizer in your mind. They must design something to, when you think, they generate the sound
Yeah.
No, I
somewhere
think
in
when you
your
just think the
mind.
FX, like everything you will just be thinking about, is just gonna be written.
Yeah, but that's not so
If you
easy.
really,
It's
yeah.
like basically Neuralink, for example, enables up and download at the moment into certain areas of the brain. So all those things are theoretically possible. So, for example, what about downloading dreams, saving memories? All of this stuff is potentially theoretically possible, but it's still quite a bit.
They already did a thing. They took a human consciousness of a guy, and they put it in the robot with Neuralink, and it worked.
What? No. I know.
Yes,
I
yes.
saw everything about Neuralink, and I
No,
didn't see.
and they even said it. Elon Musk said it himself. We took a robot, we took a guy.
But they're
and we
just working with
downloaded-
pigs right now, Peter.
No, they did it already on a military level with a military person. Maybe the guy was in an accident or something live, something, and he signed for it. And it's in the conversation. It is in the conversation
The
of that.
Robocop is coming.
Of that
I
piggy
don't
thingy.
think that this is
It
accurate.
is in there. You overheard it for sure. I watched it several times, and he even said we took a human consciousness, yes, and we put it in a robot. No problem.
No, they
Already
did.
today.
No, they don't. They are working only with pigs. They don't do human trials at the moment, Peter. It's like,
What do you know? What do we know? Who is doing?
well, it's all public. It's like they're doing public presentations. They're doing press conferences.
Okay.
Yeah,
We,
and they
we
show
don't know what they're
exact.
doing in an underground lab.
This is true, but this is just speculation. It's not factual. That's like, yeah, maybe they do that, and probably they try that, and probably they tried that a long time ago and failed, etc. That's all in the realm of possibility, not in the realm of fact, bro. That's a difference. One is speculation, and the other thing is facts. And we have a lot of facts about Neuralink because Elon Musk, they are not shy to talk about it. Like, there was the press conferences, as you saw, hopefully, and as I saw, where many people had many interesting questions. Like, for example, there's security questions, like, can you be hacked? Yes, you can be hacked.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Can there be thoughts uploaded to your brain that are not your own thoughts? Yes, can be
Yes,
done.
that means Matrix. Like you don't know Kung Fu, somebody's gonna beat you up. Download Kung Fu like in Matrix and beat the guy up, bro.
Theoretically, yes, yeah, that should be possible on the long run. But in the first time, Neuralink is primarily used for medical purposes. This is like
Yeah, that's
to
how
help
it always starts, right?
to help people who have really
That's how it always
really
starts.
issues, medical issues, and then they help those people at first because that's also ethical. You know, like there's also an
Yeah.
ethical aspect about that. So.
But now these days they are used in everywhere, in cars even, not for medical. Just actually,
Yeah, no.
Now-
The ultimate goal is to bring down the prices. At the moment, it's quite pricey as well, like even the release price. But one of the main goals of Neuralink is actually to make that really affordable and to bring down the price, bring down the price for like a cheap car. And then from the price point of a cheap car, you bring it down to 5,000 euros, and then you bring it down to a commercially viable
The mobile
space.
phone price.
Like,
Yeah.
exactly, you buy an iPhone, like you buy your Neuralink, and it's a completely automated process. They cut out a little piece of your brain, and they put this two
maybe in
2
50 years
euros.
they don't have to cut out. It will be like just a diode you just put on top of your head and it already connects electromagnetically.
They need the direct right now. Yep, maybe, but
You know
right
what I
now
mean?
they need the cable. They need the wired
Yeah.
connection
Yeah.
to your brain, and
They
you
can
need
already do
different
for a
Neuralinks.
deaf
By the way,
person.
this is
So a deaf
another big
person
thing.
can hear.
You
Okay?
need
A deaf person can hear again.
Yeah.
You can already
Well,
do
you
that.
can also like heal a depressive person. You can make a sleepless person make him sleep. You can do everything, but it's also what you need to understand is that if you want to access different areas of the brain, you need to have multiple Neuralinks, and that's also already possible. They have pigs already with 2 Neuralinks, for example, which one Neuralink goes into the servo area of the brain where the legs are moving and so forth, and the other one is going maybe to some other part, to the frontal cortex. I don't know.
Bass and kick.
No, that would be, I think, a lot of the frontal cortex. Making music is a very complex thing. You would have to have access to a lot of the areas of the brain, certainly to the frontal, certainly to the limbic system. Different areas of the brain you would have to have access, I think, direct access. And it's a bit scary because there are so many ethical things about that like, yeah, you would need maintenance, there are many sci-fi movies, books, and games that are about those things, which are very, very interesting questions. Then you're basically in the hand of this company. This company has full control over you. You're probably signing a license agreement also, like that they can read your brain data, basically. And people will, as they give today, you give away all your data to iPhone, to Microsoft, to Google, etc. And the same thing will probably happen to Neuralink, that you're signing off a certain part of your brain communication, upload, download, as you do with modern smartphones, etc. It's called transhumanism, all those things. Yeah, transhumanism. There is one guy, Stranger Aeons again. He says that sounds about the stuff what you said, Peter, and I somewhat agree with him, to be honest. I think we are a long way from what you are saying, and probably we will not be alive when this stuff happens.
For us, it's a long way.
Yeah, that sounds so advanced that I'm unsure that the human hardware will be able to keep up with the making music in your mind like that. Feels like the human brain will explode. That's why you need sophisticated software to actually, just take simple things, simple outputs of the brain and transform them into more complex structures.
The track and your eyes popped out.
Yeah, no, bro. It's like there's a lot of dark things about Neuralink, actually. Like there is a lot of
like dark web will connect to your brain while you're making music.
You can be hacked. You can be hacked.
You'll be making music. You will be making a tune, and then some hacker from dark web or whatever what it will be called, it will be called the cyber transhumanism web, whatever, cyber socialism, and he will just hack you. You will be making music, and then you're like, "Fuck, man, where's my track?"
Yes.
And you will be in jail.
Well, or somebody is like, you're having a great idea, for example, you're working for a big company, you're an inventor or an engineer, and you're having certain secrets of that company in your brain, obviously, because you are working on them. And then suddenly some Chinese hackers come and they hack your Neuralink, or they don't even have to come close to you. They probably sit in some Chinese city and they steal those company information from you. That's just a little thing. Some other hacker could be like, for example, steal what your eye is seeing and will have you record you while you are having sex and sell those movies like basically snuff porn.
I want to point exactly to this. I saw a movie recently. I don't remember the name of it. It was a cyber movie. And it was about people living in the future. And they had a dating, how they are fighting partners, okay? And they had this lens in their eye. And everything they've seen since they're born, it's constantly recorded and monitored. And they can always go and rewind where they was, what they was doing. So when they have to go for inspections, they see every second of their day. So when the girlfriend was jealous, she came to a boyfriend and she's like, "Where have you been? Okay, let me look to your thingy." And she went to his thingy and she rewind all what he saw, where he was, what he did. every fart, what he said, with everything. So the privacy was it Black Mirror? Yeah, it was in Black Mirror.
TV show.
Yes, it was in Black Mirror. It was when I saw that, bro.
Yeah,
I was
those
really
are
like
all the
quiet
dark
for a
things
couple of
about
days, you know?
transhumanism.
That's
Yeah.
that's where it's leading.
Yeah, but that's the same thing as we said before with hacking in general. Hacking is not bad. Neuralink is not bad. It's how people
I
will
mean,
use
bombs
it,
are not
and
bad.
they will
You know,
use it
bombs
for
are not
really
bad.
dark
Somebody have
shit.
to launch them.
Ultimately, they will use it for really
Somebody
dark
have
shit.
to press the button,
Imagine
bro.
you can hack inside the brain of the president of America and put thoughts into his brain, you know, and he believes it's his own thoughts, and it's not his own thoughts. It's coming from some third actor, from some whatever, like, you know, Chinese agent. I don't know why I'm going after the Chinese so much today, but yeah. It's a very interesting thing. We moved far away from the original.
Original, that's what I said. Let's go back. But this was only a point of saying like how music will be done in the future. This is what we all agreed on, that this is where it's leading to for sure. 100%. This is where it's exactly leading to.
Sure, yeah.
Stranger Aeon says, "What an epic podcast this has been." Thanks, bro. That's very nice of you to say. Yeah.
It's sponsored by Epic Games, yeah.
Sponsored by Epic Games. Bro, Peter, another thing that has nothing to do with music again, but I tried out the Xbox Game Pass, and I know you only play Fortnite, but dude, it's so good. It's so good. The deal is so good, and it's free for the first month. You can try it out for free.
Unfortunately, I don't have even time to play Fortnite. Even I'm in the world, I'm 230 world best player in squads in Fortnite.
Yeah.
I don't have time to play it because right now I just made a new track since yesterday with Narcs. I have to finish the track with you, then I have to finish track with Orbital, then I have to finish the track with Neotech, then I have to finish the track, then I make it my own music. So I'm just like, I don't have a minute of my time to even open my most favorite game.
I understand, but in the last days, for example, I was working a lot in the last weeks, and then I had to chill. My body is feeling like shit. I have really pain in my hand. I have pain in my back, and I was really mostly sleeping and playing video games and watching movies in the last days.
So, this podcast is mainly about music production.
It is about music production.
Okay.
It is about music production. That's the idea.
I have a question for Alfie first. Alfie, what is your favorite plugin?
That's a tough one.
Favorite plugin. Wow.
You can think about
For
it also.
chicken base, it's
I don't
obviously
care for what.
Basis.
Just your
Basis.
favorite, something
Bro.
that you're like. "Mm."
I have to interject here, Alfie. Peter, you know Peter's kicks are some of the best kicks in the industry. That's my opinion. It's really his kicks.
Crazy.
His kicks are so good quality, and the reason why his kicks are so different from everybody is that he is not using bassism. He's not using Kick 2. He is using software that is, I think, 15 years old, and he was showing it to me. He was giving me a tutorial. I'm going to also sell it on Instinct Learning, by the way, for anybody who want to know how Cosmo does his kicks. We did a tutorial video where we are showing, or where he is showing, how he's doing it, and it's made with SoundForge and with resampling, and it's amazing. It's an amazing technique, and he's really...
How many kicks?
In 10 minutes you did 10 kicks or something, but that's the process of resampling, of course. You take one kick, or you make one kick, and then you resample and resample and resample, you change it, you change it, you change it, and you have all those different iterations of kicks, basically. But, sorry to interject, that's what, because you said, yeah, obviously you use bassism and VB1 for kick, and I'm an avid bassism user. I use bassism for fucking 10 years, but this technique, what he showed to me, I think is superior. They just sound really, really goddamn fucking good kicks. Like, really good kicks. They have some meat.
I think you do the stuff too, because we generate the kick with bass, but actually after that we add lots of plugins and resample it. And for me, I make it an audio, and then I process it and change it until I reach to the very fat kick.
Yeah.
What?
Huh?
Sorry.
You know how kick is made?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
knows how to kick
it's a
his name.
drop. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
drop
It's
of
a
a
it,
P.
It's
it's
a very
basically a
fast
bass. It's a
sine wave
bass.
sweep.
It's actually a
Yeah,
bass,
Sine.
exactly.
Pure
and
sine.
then it's pitch. That's how a
Yeah,
kick is made.
exactly.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
every producer should have understood that. Fortunately, that a kick is basically an ultra fast sweep of a sine wave, of a short sine wave, and then you have an ultra fast sweep from a high point to a low point. That's a kick. That is a kick. That's the ingredients of a kick. Is just a pure sine that gets pitched incredibly fast from a very high to a very low point. Like I think everybody should know that, but not everybody knows that. But everybody
yeah.
should
I
know that.
know it because I design synthesizers and this stuff, so I learn it because I
Hey,
have to
you had
learn
time
it.
to think. Spit out your most favorite VST.
Wow, my favorite piece is Serum, maybe. I Serum. Wow, yeah. If I have to choose
Serum.
one, maybe Vital or Serum.
Well, bro, I have
Today,
so many.
May I ask you why maybe vital? I want to know the answer to that.
Vital have a different character in its sounds
It's very digital.
and yeah, it's I use lots of Serum in my project for this all of these years, and for me, this is a new texture sound
Very powerful.
and lots of additional, as we talked about before, the snap transposition is really nice.
Yeah,
Uh,
transpose snap is
it,
fucking
it
amazing.
is, yeah,
It has a lot
it
of cool
is really
features.
nice. Yeah, good
So
features.
Samuel, what is your favorite VST?
My favorite VST or my most used VST by a long shot is Access Virus TI. Basically,
That's not a VST.
it is a
That's not a
VST.
VST,
No,
bro.
that's
Not a
Fuck out of
VST.
here,
It
bro.
is a VST. It has a VST.
Yes,
Yeah, and
it
then
has a VST, but this is not a
I can't hear
VST.
what
It
you
is a
say.
Not
VST.
I can't
virtual.
hear. I lost hearing. Can
no,
you repeat
okay.
the question?
Let me tell you because the question is quite unprecise. If you're saying just VST, then I could
I
come.
mean, VST
Digitally.
as a VST without any hardware.
Yeah, so
Nothing
I can
like that.
let's talk about companies that I really appreciate and that I adore.
No, one VST which you are like
There is
one.
none.
That's a really crazy
It
question.
is.
Waves,
Just
like
one.
Answer it.
just
Answer it.
one. It's
One.
impossible to answer because I'm not. My synthesis was always mostly hardware based, and then I love to use samples as well. I'm a
I will
big.
give you the answer for your
Yes.
question. Actually, you are not even aware of it. It's VB1.
It's VB1. No, it's not my favorite VST. I'm sorry. That's
When did you started to use VB1?
bro. Interesting question because I didn't start with VB1. I was using maybe 10 to 25 different VSTs. Scorpion. There was one with V. I don't remember the name. I was doing. Huh?
Chronox.
Chronox, exactly, bro. Chronox. I was using Chronox.
Contact,
I was using
battery,
Albino.
Chronox.
I was using anything
Oh, yeah.
because I didn't know what was the best. So there was a time where we didn't have all this YouTube shit and all this stuff. We had to actually explore, and it was quite hard.
We didn't even have internet.
Yeah, I had to really fight for getting to the point where my kick and bass is acceptable. It took me maybe 2 years of hard work. And just acceptable. I'm not talking state of the art. I'm not talking about that. I started without knowing the pattern of a bass. I didn't know what a 1/16th is, for example. I just tried to approach. Peter, if you listen to the very first productions of mine, they cannot be called music because I was at zero.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it does with everybody.
That's with everybody. That is the magic point when you are starting
actually,
something.
I will repair this question. That's with 99.99999% of people, and the 0.0000001% of people that knows how to play piano, knows how to play guitar. They don't know nothing about musical production. They will come, make the shittiest production, but they will make amazing melodies and harmonies and composition.
Yeah, but then still the music production, especially modern music production,
Music
is multi-layered.
Music is composition. So they know how to write music. So
Yeah.
they was further than us in the beginning.
Yeah, but it's just one part. So, like, for example, there are like it's creating music is so multi-layered. There's like the mixing, there's the technical, there's the
Yes,
physical
we
part
we
about
the
it,
engineers.
basically.
We are the engineers. My piano teacher. Okay, my piano teacher. He have conservatorium. He's 20 years professional pianist. He comes to a piano and what he shits out, I'm just like, wow, can you do it again? It's so beautiful to look at and it sounds so fucking good. It's just
Yeah.
so amusing. Can you just fuck with it, please? Just let me just play, okay? And then whatever comes to his mind, you know? And then he comes,
amusing.
you know, I'm watching him, I'm like, wow. And then he comes here and he does the same thing and he's like, wow, man. So, you know, the pianist just reacted the same way as I reacted when I see him play
Yeah,
piano, which he
but-
was doing for 20 years. And when he see me doing all this shit in the
Okay.
computer for 20 years, then he's like, what the
Yeah, but should I tell you something interesting that
Exactly.
is about that? I had a student who was a professionally studied a musician. He was studying jazz theory, and he was a guitar player, singer, drummer. He played fucking 10 instruments or something like that. And I lived with him for some time. He was coming
Wow.
to Berlin. And
I would use him so much.
yeah, but listen what happened. So I was learning from him music theory, obviously, just on the way, basically, while I was teaching him music production. And then I was doing the first instinct learning workshop, which was amazing. It was amazing. It was like 15 people from all over the world, and then another 10 people on the second workshop. And I used him, obviously, as a teacher. You know, like he was coming to me as a student, but he was ending up as a teacher because he was 1 gazillion times better in explaining music theory. He could explain in the podcast, in the workshop. He explained to us all the music from, for example, Furious. We were disassembling it. He was showing it on the piano. For example, that a lot of Collier's music is from the basses, very, very easy. You have some melodies that are just the first 4 notes of the minor scale. And he was, you know, disassembling it and showing it to the people. But there is those two things. And then there comes the moment as a musician where those two things come together. And I think for you, Peter, also, it came slowly in the last years that you were approaching it. I think you're not, you know, on the end of the road there, but you started to realize, wow, there is this music theoretical aspect to making music and to composition, which is true composition. And you can live as a modern electronic music producer without that, but it gives you something. And the real amazing musicians, they all know something about that. It's like, it's something that...
Very true. You know, when I started to do music, I didn't know shit about music. I didn't know shit about music composition. I didn't know shit about any guitar, any piano. I played guitar, but then I unfortunately forgot it. The only thing I wanted was just to make this trance music because, you know, I came to there
Yeah.
and something...
And that's enough.
Something druggy. I had my first experience on acid. I heard that track and it was just like, it touched me so fucking much.
Yeah.
I could not stop thinking about it. It was like...
Yeah, I think
You know, I
that's
was
very
like this.
common.
Only thing I ever wanted is to know how to do this.
Yeah, and that's the
And that's
most
the only
important thing, this will to
Then I
do
went to
something.
school. Then I went to school and they showed me this Logic Audio Platinum DAW because I was in Denmark. And then I went to this school. And people who took like several years to learn this, for me it took 6 months from the first time I ever seen the program. 6 months. After 6 months, I knew
Because
I
you
was
really
like this in
wanted
school,
to
I was
do
just
that.
like, give it to me, you know. And all the guys in the school, they were like, "Mm, okay, yeah," and I was like, give it, you know. So
Yeah.
he gave
Ultimately, it's like we had this other podcast. We had this other podcast where we were talking about what is needed to create music, and ultimately, what is really needed is this ultimate
Motivation.
will. No, it's the will to do
Will.
it. Yeah, it's you want it, and you want it so bad, and nothing
you're
will stop
obsessed.
you. Nothing
You're
will
basically
stop you
obsessed.
from it. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
you don't know music. It doesn't matter if you don't know the program. It doesn't matter if you don't know
That's
how
what I'm
to talk
mentioning
about
here.
it.
I don't know how to do any composition. I didn't know anything about any DAW. I never saw any DAW. I never seen anything. That time the computers were very slow. The DAW was very complex. Even just few plugins was running on it. It was an art to make it work. So not only you have to learn work with the DAW, you have to learn to work how to program the computer, how to make the computer run. That time there was ton of viruses. I remember I got the WR32 and my whole computer was just,
Oh yeah.
and I have to reinstall. I lost everything. Several times. There was no antivirus. There was no nothing. And
There was
our
antivirus.
Our
There was.
modem was just.
You just didn't have it. Yeah.
Our
Dial-up
modem
modems.
sound- Dial-up. We had the. Me and Sammy was sitting literally a few days ago and listening to the dial-up on YouTube. How just
Yeah.
put dial-up internet connection and you can hear the.
Well, the three of us, we all know how dial-up sounds because we are old enough.
Can you play the dial-up sound here for people?
Yeah, I can play the dial-up
Yeah,
sound for
sure.
Please
people.
do it. Remember these motherfuckers. This is in YouTube.
Yeah, I have it.
This is
It's like a SNH sound, basically.
revolution, bro.
Yeah, it's actually quite a cool sound, but very noisy. But it's funny. This video has like 14 million plays, for example. It's just a dial-up sound.
It's just like the people
That's
who
really
they just
nice.
go back and they're like, "Hey, bro, let me remind myself."
Yeah.
Yeah, you can add some stutter and chopper and use it in the track.
Yeah, but you have to saturate it a bit. It sounds quite dull. At least
I think
this
in
one.
our music production, everybody have used it without being unaware of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're making so much noise with so much, synthesizers, and they come to a point where you have this sound.
Yeah,
But
they're really
I'm
I'm not too
similar.
sure about that, but yeah, maybe.
But original is always original,
Yeah,
Anyway, so we had this
but
model,
there is but you had this track, Peter, which was called Physical Space, and there was not the dial-up
that
sound.
was already way advanced music. I made tracks like Mortal Kombat, Delete, Parvati Noise, and like tracks which I did in Logic Audio Platinum where I struggled. Like I'm gonna say honest, I had cracked waves because we were just kids growing up. The waves they hit the market, they costed 4,000 euro that time, and just to hack the waves in Logic, you had to get another hack which disables certain plugins in the waves bundle, so you can just install the crack and you have to install that and this and that process and click precisely. And if you do just one mistake, buddy, it's goodbye your DAW, goodbye your whole shit. You have to really reboot your whole Windows, not just like, I'm just gonna uninstall it and just fix it. No, you have to reboot the whole fucking Windows.
Reinstall the Windows, you mean, or what?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was significant operation, so I had to learn that. And my motivation drew me so insanely that I didn't know shit about anything, and I managed to pull it off just because of my obsession.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the most required thing of all the things, is the will to do it. Every one of us, I would argue, at one time were listening to this music and blown away, and it was important to us. It was like touching us in a very way. It helped us. It was like therapy, maybe even. For me, it was like that. And I was getting the vision in my head as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old. I can very well remember that time when I was going through the streets and I was having ideas about music, but I was not even having a computer. I didn't own a computer back then. So it was far, far away, but it was my wish and my dream for many years before I actually then had the first chance to do it when I was starting to study art, and then those people were giving me audio interface and a computer and everything so that I can start it. But I think this is the core of every musician, modern musician in the world. Someday was walking around and having the vision, I want to do that. And this vision must be very strong. And this leads to overcoming all those obstacles, because you will have to fight. It's not easy. You're starting at zero. Everybody starts at zero. And it's goddamn hard.
Question, stranger. I can answer it very simply for you. Your question makes so much sense and it gives me very many answers. The first answer I'm going to give you: the most complex tracks are the worst tracks.
Yeah, I can somewhat agree.
And it means,
Kind
and
of
it
agree,
means,
yeah.
it means only one thing. music represents its personality. Remember these words. Music represents its personality. So I can determine a lot of things when I don't know you. I meet you on the street, and I ask you what music you're listening to, and you tell me, oh, I'm listening to heavy metal. So I can already put in my mind, okay, he's dressing like that, he's hanging with people like that, he's listening to tunes like that, he's taking drugs like that, he's eating food like that. Probably, okay. The probability of that is really high. Now, what is the most difficult track each of you ever made? You should not ask it like that. What is the most difficult period of your life when you have been making music?
Yeah, but that's not
That
really
is
his
the right
question.
question.
Yeah, but
And
it's
that is
that's
the answer
not.
for your question.
But that's
That is the
yeah.
answer for your question. The
So-
most difficult track that I ever made was the most difficult times of my life that I ever went through.
I don't know if that is really the right answer, but that's your answer.
That is the right
Okay.
answer, because if
Yeah.
I'm full okay and full motivated,
Sure.
I'm shitting a track a day.
Yeah. So let me answer that question from my side. So I agree somewhat that actually some of the best tracks, the most famous track of mine, I Love LSD, I wrote it in one day. Famously, I was building it in one day, and mixing and mastering was another thing. But the construction of the track took me one day. Literally. And it's the most famous track of mine. It's the most beloved track. Still fucking people tell me, I love LSD. For me, it's quite kind of annoying because the track is 8 years old. It's kind of boring for me, like, to hear that. Of course, I appreciate it, but nevertheless, I would rather that people say, man, your last track, it's my favorite track, of course. But it was...
Your last track is my favorite track.
Thanks, Peter. That's nice. No, to be honest, lately I was writing some interesting stuff.
Sorry, Sammy. The question is perfect, and I hope you understood the answer. You cannot make, when I see person, he's making a track for 1 month, I understand the person is mentally struggling.
Exactly. I'm totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Exactly as Sammy said. You said the track, the LSD, was the best track, and you do it in one day.
You know why,
And
Sammy?
maybe because you was okay, you have the
like that, bro.
motivation.
Yeah, I had
You don't
I had a special
care
motivation.
about anything.
I was caring a lot about one thing. I was caring a lot about that I was shortly before standing in front of the one of the most important stages back in the day, Noise Poison Festival, and I was there with the most high-level artist in the world, and I had to present my stuff, and it had to hold up, and I wanted to be proud on myself. I was thinking about exactly this thing. What would I want to experience when I would be the person standing in front of the speakers down there? What would it that I want to experience? That was my...
Forget this. Any musician should never forget these words, what you just said, because this is what musicians forget. They start to make music because of a certain reason, and then they change their music because people tell them to change their music, or because maybe, again, it's in the mind. The mind goes somewhere else.
Yeah, or there's just simply extrinsic. There's intrinsic motivation, there's extrinsic motivation. This is intrinsic motivation, and extrinsic motivation would be, for example, I do that style of music because that is the most successful at the moment, or something like that. Yeah, exactly. So that's probably the wrong way to do it.
Why fuck that. Break all the rules, because when I started to do my music, there was no person on the fucking planet Earth in trance culture who was doing what I was doing. And I lived with the Parvati gang in Denmark. And so you can imagine the music they were listening to. I was showing some tracks like the Gandalf from Grapes of Wrath, or Droid Sect, Poltergeist remix. Droid Sect is actually Digital Dog, but I knew all 4 of the guys. Now there are only 2 guys, Luke and Julien. Anyway, the point is that Jaffa was the guy when I was not in the school, and I had the access card to school, so I slept in the school. I went to the studio. The Denmark school had the fucking studio. I didn't even leave the fucking school. I slept there. I lived there, bro. They come and wake me up in the studio, and I just went, 2 stairs down into the class. Yeah. And after the class, I just went home. If I had any home, because I lived under the bridge or I lived by somebody's home before I get my apartment together, Danish crowd helped me a lot. All the artists there, and I went to Jaffa and Mono and Aleruna and the Vicious Spiral and everybody who was producing fucking music there. And what do you think? I was sitting next to Jaffa, next to Syntax Error from Grapes of Wrath, like this. And I'm like, what is that? How did you do that?
Yeah.
And I was just sitting hours and hours and hours and watching. And then after that, I just went into my class and practiced the same what he was doing.
Yeah.
I just asked the teacher, how to do this?
Jaffa is
How
such
do
a
I do
sweet
that?
guy.
And he was just showing me like this, like this, like this, like this. And I just replicate the process. And after replicating the process, now imagine I'm living with a crowd who likes 148 BPM, forest fucking music, and I'm coming there. Like,
But Peter, don't forget that back in the day, for example, Gravity album, it was shocking for the people because it was suddenly like, what the fuck is happening? What if no? But let me talk now for 1 second, Peter. You're breaking up whatever thought I have. And I remember the time when Gravity dropped and everybody's chin was dropping, and most of the people were like impressed, to be honest with you. And most of the people thought, that's so extreme. But if you go back and look at the BPMs of the tracks, it was actually 150 to 160. Right?
BPM was already too much for this.
Yeah, and not only for them, it was a shock for most people. And there were like two kind of groups of people. One were like my friends and me. We were listening to all kinds of psytrance back in the day. For example, the South African Twilight, which just came up. Then the Greek school and the Russian school. And then you came with this. And we were shocked. We were shocked about this mathematical, technological approach and everything like that. And it was just a couple of BPM higher. And that was already a shock. That was, what the fuck?
It was a couple of BPM higher, but the sound, the way the sound was also brought
exactly.
It
was different.
Was different.
It was completely different. And it was shocking to some people. And probably some people couldn't accept it because it was not what they were used to. But
and this is a very nice question again. Some people couldn't accept it because they was not used to it. So when I came to Goa and I started to produce my nasty 160, 170 tracks in Goa, you know, in Goa, this is too fast music. What is this shit music? All the French Goa people, all the Italian. What is this music? I cannot listen to this. This is shit. And then I told them. I had a fight with one person I will not mention, very important person of Goa scene, very old guy. And he told me, what is this shit music? And I was making a track with Kinzaza in the studio, 152 BPM.
152 BPM, and it was shocking.
And it was shocking. And then I told to the guy, I turned around and I told him, if this is too fast, then you're too old.
Yes.
And
Bro.
I called the track like that.
You called the track. I just wanted to say put it on the list, but it's already...
It is already me and Kinzaza track, old school, 152 BPM. If it's too fast, then you're too old.
Yes.
Now the point is, because I had bunch of music from bunch of people who was following my footsteps and they were trying to produce this kind of music. Like Willow Wisp, they call him Argentinian Cosmo. So he was sending me some tracks in 160. When I started 160, I sent him produce. So he sent me some tracks, and, you know, I had some music. It was not the greatest production, but whatever. Furious Collie, I remember when I came to Russia, he was telling me, how dare you? How dare you to produce shit like this? This is insane. Like the production, the skills, the music was like...
but I agree,
He was so jealous. He told me, Peter, I was so jealous because I don't know how you did it. It's so insane. And I say, you're a composer. You're a father of who plays with Carlos Santana on a fucking stage.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think that was very prevalent back in the day.
So I left some music in Goa.
It's still...
I left some music in Mexico. I went to play first time high tech to Mexico. I left some music in Mexico. I went to play to Brazil. I left some music in Brazil. I went there. I left some music there. And this is when it hit me. We will always complain about things which we don't know about.
Yeah, it's normal.
The moment we know them, so music is a training program. So if you say this music is shit, well, spend some time with the person. Go to the roots of that. Analyze the whole process of it. When you will know the whole process, you will understand what's behind it. And when you will understand that, you will learn yourself, you will educate yourself, and then you will accept it.
Let me interject something there. It's also that people had to experience it, and your music was very functional. So in the end, like, okay, maybe people were listening at home and they were not getting it, but then they were just standing on some dance floor and they see everybody like losing their shit, and then they realize, oh, maybe it's not too bad that it's on 150. You know what I mean? But it's like and then people were getting trained to that, and now it's like,
It was when I went to flight in Goa before I left, and they were all like, oh, fuck you, man. And I was like, fuck you all, man. Fuck you all. You're going to be addicted to this music. And I told them, you all, you, and you especially who hated the most, you all going to be junkies to this music. And then a few years later, they wrote me back, fuck, man, you were right.
Yes.
I'm so addicted, bro.
Yeah, and then actually, I can remember, for example, Furious was dropping Somnambulu, and in that time it was just the first AAA 190 BPM track, and it was a shocker for the people because that was a fucking brilliant, brutal.
The first 190 was me and Kolya Psychoacoustic Exciter. That is the first.
Oh my god, but that is also a masterpiece. It's also a masterpiece.
In Russia, when I came to Russia,
but Somnambulu was a cornerstone, nevertheless. It's like it was
it was a year and a half after, or 3 years after.
But it was an important track for the scene.
I went to Kolya, and Kolya was on 150 BPM or something, and Leo was on 148 BPM. And Psychoski was at maximum 149, 150. And then I came and I called Vasily. We met. And he's like, okay, let's start bass and kick. And I was like, 190. And it was like, what? And I was like, man, listen, I don't give a shit. Do you give a shit? He's like, no, I don't give a shit. Okay, let's go, bro.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit. So don't give a shit who is telling you what. Be convinced. Follow your energy,
vision, your vision,
your creation, and don't let anything and anybody dismotivate you. Be like a fucking wall, bro. Be like a fucking wall.
But it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, I took the shit since the very beginning of the shit.
Yeah. But this is what all innovators did, is like go through the time when people say, oh, you're stupid, what is this shit, that's not the stuff that we do. It's like it was all over human history like that. Believe me, it was even when Beethoven was improvising a lot. Yeah, it was his strong point, but he was working for the kings and for, those kind of people, and it was just playing stuff that other people wrote, and he didn't like it. It was through human history. Innovators will always get shit on, basically, at first, until the moment comes, then it breaks through, and the stuff happened, what happened with your music, Cosmo. It's just like that. But Gravity, I believe it's still a cornerstone of psychedelic music. It's still today, and it will ever be a cornerstone. And Acoustical Pollution, the same, and so forth.
Whoever knows about it, but this is not an interview for that. This is just a point of view where it's.
Doesn't matter. We're already.
You should stay dedicated. You should stay motivated. You should stay self-preserved, and don't let anybody take it away from you.
Yeah,
just believe in your fucking self.
Believe in your vision. Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with Nicolo, Italian producer, who does very special music, but it sounds like nothing else. And I think that's so brilliant. And we had a conversation just about the same things that we just talked. And it's somewhat more important to stay true to yourself than to be famous or to be accepted or anything like that. This will come ultimately, but for this you need to have the balls to go through it and to let nobody tell you what to do or what not to do.
I was making my music that nobody could accept that time. I felt fulfilled. I felt like I reached what I wanted to achieve. And not only that, I felt that I've seen the dance floor in front of my eyes. Every time I made a track, I knew exactly what this is gonna do to people on the dance floor, because I want this track to do that to me. I just want to go fucking yeah.
But that's always the thing. If music doesn't do that with yourself when you are doing it, when you are not blown away and you have like fucking goosebumps on your arms and you are like believing, then something is wrong. You need to have the feeling that this is something extremely important what you are doing and that this has a real meaning. And I don't know, like this I think it's incremental to do great music. If you are not shocked by your own music in your own studio, then nobody will be shocked by the music that you do. It's like that. Yeah, like you need to be really have this
like the
enthusiasm.
DJs, bro. When the DJs they go to play the fucking music, you know, bro. DJs call them DJs or press play players. I call them press play players, not DJs. This is press play player
Yeah.
because to me a DJ is a guy who is like a, you know, techniques convention when he's like.
Yeah,
This
but
is
you
for
can't
me.
generalize. There's obviously real DJs.
No.
There is
Yeah,
real
okay, press
DJs.
play players.
Yeah, but
Press
Doctra,
play
for
players.
example, is a real DJ.
Oh, that's a DJ. But
Yeah.
most of the people I'm saying they're press play players, and some of them they are literally doing this. The whole set.
Yeah, many. But you're talking more about live acts than DJs, bro. Really.
No, DJs, and even live acts. And
More
I
live
study
acts.
them. I
More.
study their body language. I study their. When I'm fucking playing, when I'm going to play to a party, in my bag there is 2 different T-shirts with me only for the stage, because I know after first
You're gonna be
35
sweaty.
minutes.
Yeah.
my shirt is pure water, and I need another one.
Yeah. It's also kind of boring, actually, for the person who is not playing. It's the most boring thing to stand there and don't do nothing. It's actually it's shockingly boring, and not really. The people feel it. I mean, I believe, but many people also don't give a shit. Like, it's going to be hard for me to not say names, but there is another label, like our label, and the label owner from that traditionally just fucking stands there. He just stands there. He just stands there. He doesn't even attempt to, and he doesn't even attempt to make it look like he would be mixing or something like that. Like, which is at least somewhat honest. You know what I mean? Like, at least you can say, okay, he's not air DJing or faking it, because that's the worst. I mean, if people are like doing a lot but doing nothing, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, the fucking thing is not even connected. We all saw that. Like, for example, there is a Nord synthesizer on stage, and the guy doesn't even plug the electricity in. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like shameless. You mean like, okay, and then you're going on the synthesizer and doing stuff on the synthesizer, which is not even connected to the electricity, and of course not connected to the mixer. And then you ask yourself, wow, why did you carry that fucking 10 kg synthesizer with you?
Performance. And the same is happening on Climax, for example. Climax, Quillmax, you write it, Climax. It's a very great one-day hard techno festival where they make amazing visuals, amazing sound setup. They have most of the acoustic speakers from the whole Europe there. There is more than 750,000 watt sound system. The thing is, the people who plays there, like Anger Fist and stuff like that. So he makes music 3 years in advance, and then his company, his booking manager, sends the music to these kind of places, and they prepare all the visual, all the.
It's all
lasers,
playback.
light, and he comes there and he is not playing the music. He's just acting like he's playing the music. It's only a show, because the show today. Can you imagine having all these hundreds of lights and all these hundreds of lasers and all these hundreds of fucking fire and everything being exactly synced to your spontaneity?
Yeah, there is ways to do that, and I would be, for example,
No,
very interested
It's
in.
always playback.
Mm,
Always.
I would be
Today-
super
and as a
interested.
guy-
Yeah,
as a
there's.
guy who understands stage performance, professionalism, I know till today we don't have the technology that is able to go exactly on point with us till today. It's still live people, extreme professionals who, if they can catch the moment, congratulations to them. But when you see the best shows on stages, they're all playback.
Yeah,
All of them.
all of them. Yeah, you're right about that. But okay, this is a justification, but I don't really see it as 100% valid. I would be interested in, for example, Amon Tobin, Isam, how it was done. It was probably 100% playback as well. I don't know. I would be interested.
Amon Tobin is not playback.
No, but you know Isam. You know his mapping.
No,
Yeah, well, he had a
no.
project which
Ah,
was
the projection for Amon Tobin.
no, was a project which was called Isam, which was 1 hour of music, and all was synced up 100% with the mapping. And he was standing in a construction out of a lot of cubes, like
Yeah,
white.
in Berlin. I
No,
was
no,
there.
not in Berlin, bro. All over the world.
I was in
This
Berlin
was
on this
this.
performance.
You saw it or what?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, so this was like all over the world. It was sold out. It was in San Francisco. It was in Denmark, in Sweden, in Germany, in France, in Italy, in fucking India, in China, and wherever. In Japan, he played it everywhere, and it was sold out pretty much everywhere.
Querpusher was in Ozora 2 years ago,
I
3 years ago.
I don't think that he did that completely on his own. Somebody says that I've heard that Amon Tobin does his own visuals. I would be
I
surprised.
can't answer this. I'm sorry.
I also cannot answer, but I would be very interested to know. My hunch was that he worked with a professional team there, like with a lot of professionals, professional 3D modelers and graphic artists, etc., and editors, video editors, etc. But I don't
So
know. Man.
Alfie, you're a teacher,
Yeah, I
and
teach.
so how did you come to music production?
Actually, I start piano when I was child, but I skip it after a year because that classical music, and I don't really involve with that. And then I start electric guitar, and that was the music. And first, I don't really electronical involve with music. After that, we have a instrument. It's a Persian instrument we called ney.
Nay?
It's like flute, but different sound. It's it's shamanic sound, more shamanic that uh, flute or something like that.
So not so tonal.
So it's tonal. Yeah,
It is tonal. Okay.
it is tonal. Yeah, but different tunes.
Hmm.
But I put a microphone on the ney and put it into my electric guitar effectors, and then I realized, wow, what the fuck is that sound? It wasn't ney, but it's
Electronic.
crazy electronic.
Yeah.
And then I start to make some shitty music, and in time I go on and on. And the first time I listened to, I was listen to techno music most of the time, but the first time I go to the party and listen to psychedelic music, that was the
What
revelation.
was your connection with psychedelic music from which inspired you for your music production? What was the production that time that gave you like, holy shit, what the fuck is that?
I don't remember what was the track, but the party was really crazy and people have very good feeling. There was
Yeah.
really high, and so that was really crazy, the atmosphere, because I never
You been
saw
high?
the atmospheric like that. I couldn't answer that. Uh,
Yeah.
but that was the really start of this stuff, and in time I really followed you guys long time, your music, Sammy's music, and actually I was the first person maybe that play high-tech music in Iran, because all of people like 147 music,
Yeah.
maybe 150.
Ultimately,
But when I start to play music, high-tech music in the parties, most of the people going out
Because
or
they don't
going
understand. That's what I
home.
say. It's
Yeah,
a training
if
program.
it's new for them, they don't understand
You
it.
know.
But ultimately,
You know
it's funny because it's all for us. It's the same. We all went to psychedelic parties. We were blown away that music can do this, what it's doing there, and then we all had the vision. Okay, we really want to do that as well because that has some really powerful effect on our life. So then we want to give it to other
Yeah.
people. It's actually like, for me, it was really this kind of, wow, that shit really was my therapy. Psytrance was my therapy as a young.
Oh man, that's a killer name for a track. Psytrance is my therapy. Oh my god, I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, Peter,
Oh my god. But
Peter,
you know, man,
Peter and me, we have an insane list. Or
I have a list.
yeah, don't say the names. Don't say the names. You cannot say the names in public before we put them out.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have some
writing it down.
insane names written down. Like
You say
whenever
insane names. I'm gonna write it down.
we also have some so-so names, but a lot of good ones.
So, for
But
me,
yeah,
the music which kicked my ass in the past, the track that I first time ever heard on a substance, was the Delta Traveling to the Speed of the Thoughts, which is actually a guitar track. So today, I'm actually doing some guitar shit, which I'm really happy about because it reminds me of why I came to music and why I blah blah blah. But I make it in a high-tech style right now. And second part is, the Gathering from Infected Mushroom, the album.
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
And there was a track called Psycho.
Yeah.
It's so funny because everybody listened to Infected Mushroom, for example. When
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
album in that time was like, what?
what there was one album called
Yeah.
Converting Vegetarians, right?
I
Exactly.
don't know, bro, but
Yeah.
this album, The Gathering, when I heard this, there was like,
Yeah.
for me, there was nothing. Just throw everything together. For me, there was just this album, and it was like banger shit, bro. And then came
Yeah.
Skazi,
Yeah.
and Talamaska, and Nomad, and all these
Oh my god, Skazi
Broken Toy,
nowadays.
and all these. Oh, I have a case,
Changing.
my CD case
Yeah.
here, And
I have to say
looked
that
up
that
on
this music
shit.
is nowadays.
Creepy, even Fungus Funk old music. I have it here. Oswienchi,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
all this Trans
yeah.
Driver, and I
Yeah,
have all the
yeah,
old school
I
stuff
also
from
know that,
Gabriela.
yeah.
Gabriela, when I
The
met
Nutcracker
Gabriela, he
from
gave me
Trans
the
Driver.
tracks. He gave me the tracks, and he told me, Gabriela, the guy who died, the legend of Russian evolution of psychedelic trance culture. He told me, Peter, you cannot show this music to anybody, not give it to anybody, they will kill me. I still have the tracks. I still have them on my CD. I still have them from Gabriel for Cosmo, year 2005
Yeah.
or something, or
The thing
4
is-
or 3.
That this music back in the day, it was actually worth a lot of money. So, for example, in
Yeah.
the early 2000s, you had a VA with top-notch artists. It was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars because it was sold in normal stores. It was sold in London in the normal
Yes,
music
there was
stores.
no MP3.
Yeah, there was no MP3, so it was a completely different time because actually one track, had the potential to make thousands and thousands and thousands of euros, and therefore it was really a different story from today, where music is so devaluated, sadly, so much devaluated.
Look where the
Devalued.
music is going today, bro. Look where the production is going today. What you're able to achieve with a small computer, pair of headphones, and wheel. Like these guys today to make music and music production, they have all the fucking possibilities. Like if I am born today and I'm Cosmo, just coming to the scene right now, I cannot even,
Yeah, you have a lot of different
it's just,
possibilities.
we struggled
Guys,
so much in the past
guys,
to do shit, and today there is like infinite. It's infinite. It's already infinite.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that also doesn't necessarily make it easier. But in general, yes, we are less limited by technology. But now we are sitting on rocket computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Exactly,
is a difference for sure. Guys, I would really like to continue, but I'm really getting a bit hungry, and we can continue this on another time. Cosmo, you can definitely join in for a future podcast. I'm happy to host you, but and we can see if we find something funny to talk about or something fitting to talk about. But for today, I would probably like to round it up because I'm a little bit hungry. Really, my stomach is hurting.
Let's talk about vaccine.
This is the
Yeah.
the longest podcast ever. Is totally
Yeah.
more than 2 hours.
Bro,
bro,
Stranger
so
Aeons.
mean.
Okay,
That was
guys,
awesome.
let me quickly do the outro. First of all, thanks for everybody who watches, and especially to the people who was contributing by commenting and posting questions. This time we had Stranger Aeons here that did a lot of questions, which is super sweet. Thanks a lot, dude. We do this every Friday. Last Friday I was sick, so I couldn't do it, but Alfie and me, we are meeting every Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. CET, so Central European Time, for anybody who's interested to join in. The idea is that you guys can have a conversation with us, so you did it the right way, Stranger Aeons. You are a producer yourself, and therefore it's great that you put in your thoughts and your questions, because then we can have an interactive kind of situation here, and this is what we like the most. Then we are also motivated to do it. Furthermore, check out all the social media from all the guys. Alfie Psyche, you find him under his name Alfie Psyche. Myself is, for example, youtube.com/c/Parandroid is my YouTube. You find me on Facebook under Parandroid. And also visit, if you're interested in music production and want to learn stuff, we're going to release Cosmos Kick tutorial soon on instinct-learning.com. That's instinct-learning.com, as it is written under the video anyway. And
Special.
and also on Facebook, follow us there, follow us on YouTube. We're gonna stream it to YouTube and to Twitch. I'm using multi-stream. So thanks again for everybody who tuned in. See you guys hopefully next week, because we do that every week. Next week, what is our topic next week, Alfie?
For the next week.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wow. It's about live performances.
It's about live performances.
Fuck! Oh my
How do
god!
artists prepare themselves before their live acts?
Oh my god! This is gonna be the best topic ever.
Dude, we should have one more guy.
This is a really crazy question of mine, because the real crazy artist, how can they prepare
I can give you the
themselves?
answer. Why they are even there?
If they just press play.
how?
But guys, that's for next week. That's for next week, bro. And that
Why
is for,
they are even there?
Hey,
Just send me the fucking
Yeah.
USB stick and fuck off, bro.
Yeah.
Come see my laptop. Look. You know the live performance? And here is written, come see my laptop.
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, a lot of people are doing that, and then we can talk about that, of course. It would be maybe interesting to have one more person. Cosmo, if you are interested, you can definitely join in. But I would like,
Yeah, sure.
but I
When
would
you
like,
end the stream, I need to talk to you for 5 minutes personally.
okay, no problem. Bye Laviram, bye Mirage Princess, and bye Stranger Aeons, and bye to everybody else. Thanks for watching, guys. I see you guys hopefully soon. And have a great weekend, everybody. Love you, and
Bye.
see you soon. Bye bye.